Введите текущее время. 18 по Москве это 6 p.m., да? Или... Подожди. Я же не брежу? О, кстати, Сумрак, сможешь менять категорию? Что, московская вводишь? Потому что у меня на компе московская. Погодите-ка. Что? Я начали, могу кое-что сказать. Давай. Спасибо, что правильно вставили время оба раза, что запускали игру. Многие относятся к этому как-то несерьезно. Ставят часы на 12:00 и торопятся дальше. Вы потратили время, чтобы выставить часы, и я это ценю. Это говорит мне о том, что вы играете внимательно, что для вас важны детали. Я ведь даже не знаю, правильно ли вы время выставили. Такой ты, конечно, пес. Знаете что, давайте договоримся. Я вам так доверяю, что при следующем запуске игры просто выставьте на этом экране свое любимое время. Да, ультрадюкс. Выбирайте любое время, даже если оно неправильное. Вы заслужили. Теперь можем вернуться к игре. Такой бес. Так, мне кажется, будет орать, поэтому я сразу сделаю потише. Где-то в половину сразу. Бам. Рассказчик сотка. Это must have. Упрощенное управление, что ли? Это недостаточно просто? Чувствительность мыши хочу поменьше. О, кайф, 4. Да, ребят, кто не знаком, это Stanley парабл. Изначально мод на второй Half-Life, если я правильно помню, это было очень давно. Мод на вторую халву, который потом стал полноценной игрой, и который со временем получил делюкс издание, ультра делюкс издание с новым контентом. Игра про ржаку. Я пройдусь. Ну, короче, есть еще, когда она выходила, короче, как отдельная игра, я ее прошел. Я ее прошел абсолютно на все концовки вроде как. Игра мега суперская. Я, кстати, в первый день, как только начал ее играть, я сразу заболел. Опять игноришь? Я опять игнорю? В смысле? Как такое возможно? Здорово, Кира. Да я вообще никого не читал сейчас, пока я рассказывал. Здорово всем энджойерам, чайк, остальным соболезную. Вот, здорово, говорю. Все, вопросов больше не вижу. Вот, короче, прошел я ее в свое время. Все концовки, игра супер, заболел в первый день. Посмотрим, какие отличия. В принципе, просто вспомнить игру тоже будет классно. Проходил я ее вообще давно. Я даже, ну, типа... По-моему, в тот же году, когда она вышла. Могу ошибаться.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Голос вообще суперский у рассказчика.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Отличная работа.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them. And
Сколько интересно платят?
this is what employee 427 did
Вообще
every
супер.
day, every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made
Это хорошо, на самом деле.
for this job. And Stanley was happy. And
Русского
then
наратора,
one
по-моему,
day,
нет.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Жиза,
No one had
кстати.
showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Я Стэнли.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Ой,
Stanley
так странно.
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Когда двигаешься, у тебя такой оп, как будто на льду. В этой комнате можно за текстуру вылететь? Ну-ка, 430.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these medals away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Я проходил Metal Gear Solid. Кликать и быстро я умею.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 416?
20 в 417? Что? 20 раз 417? Там пассианс какой-то или косынка, что это? Блин, что-то есть вот в этих в офисных, короче, зданиях, я прям их уважаю. Работать бы здесь я, наверное, не смог. Слишком душно. Но оно все такое прикольное. О! О! О!
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Табака. 437?
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415? Блин, это уже где-то далеко.
Now, back to door number 437.
Да что ты будешь делать? Дай мне ачивку, собака. Я, кстати, не помню, было так или нет. Я помню, что вот с этой дверью было что-то связано. Ну, типа с ачивкой.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine?
Ксерокс?
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
Что-то было? Вот это, да? Да.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
419? Кстати, в игре прыгать нельзя. 409. Во.
Yes, this is great. You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
416?
We've almost got it. Now the copy machine, do that one again.
Тут есть другой поближе? Нет.
Finish it off, Stanley. 5 clicks on door 4-3s. Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today.
Спасибо.
Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks.
Да?
Really now? What were you thinking?
Так. Ладно, походу все. I like. Я люблю работу. Я ненавижу моего... я люблю работу, я просто ненавижу своего босса. О.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Левую? Ну, давай в левую.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Может быть. Может и нет. Только я буду знать.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Ты где дали ачивку? Не знаю.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings.
Да.
Really worth it.
Комната хорошая.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall
Нет, все нормально, я пойду.
It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Нет.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Блин, она такая жуткая. Я бы не сказал, откровенно говоря.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ну, в этом есть смысл. Я пока просто гуляю. Не прыгать во время движения. Иначе смерть. Штраф за прыжок с карголифта $5000.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Ну да. О, кстати, я могу все вспомнить.
Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Твой любимый рот? Опасно, опасность везде. Правда ли это то самое место, которое ты хотел мне показать? С опасностью везде? Я могу уйти? Нет. To be. Где я вообще?
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ага, через красную, да? Верно? Через красную. Ну ладно.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Красную. А, красную. Я перепутал.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Да-да. Могу закрыть? О. Точно, красную.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to
Yes.
find out what lies
Да,
at the end
да.
of this road you've
Да.
chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer
А там и
textures.
что?
Is this what you had wanted?
Может и да.
Worth ruining the entire story I'd
Да.
written out specifically for you?
Да.
Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see.
Я и хотел.
Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles?
Древо навыков неплохо было бы. Джобы как в BD2.
Absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
А? Это выглядит интересно.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Feedback area. Да, вообще-то неплохо, мне понравилось.
Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley.
Sure.
Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version.
Еще больше дверей будет.
Candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Лидерборд? Настоящие люди? Вы знали, что 21% игроков пропустили интро? Это я. 7 часов? Я пойду дальше сюда. Мне понравились эти оранжевые стены.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors?
Не.
Honest answers, please.
Я даже не знаю, настоящий это лидерборд или нет.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting.
Давай.
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
Да-да.
Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Тестером? О,
О,
нет.
Towards danger.
Это я помню.
Click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice.
Там, по-моему, часов 10 или 5 надо.
Only becomes clear once you've been playing
4.
for 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
О мой бог. Сгори в муках, молю. Да, да, да. И тоже да.
I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable.
Мужик,
Oh, hey,
запускай BD2.
why don't we play someone else's game?
О, да. Asana Team Game.
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
О, Я смотрел прохождение на ютубе давным-давно. Это... Firewatch.
Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower.
Нет, я егерь.
Some sort of twisted erotic purpose.
Я егерь.
Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
О, давай. Ой. Я, кстати, не играл сам. Я плохо помню, о чем эта игра. Я помню, что ты играешь за какого-то егеря. Давай. Кстати, приближать я никак не могу, да? Там что-то есть. It can't be. А что не так? По-моему, все отлично.
It is. It's an open world game. Good
Да?
God, quickly block it off.
Нет! В смысле? Что?
Stanley, what a close call.
Эй!
You nearly wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around.
Да, а вот мне он нравится, может.
No path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here.
Нет, в смысле? Вот падла.
Something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Неприступные огромные стены?
Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Rocket League?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Дай мне мяч, брат. Я хотя бы забью что-нибудь гол.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see.
Мы играем в футбол.
Cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball?
Спортсбол?
I think it's sports ball. Oh,
Что?
what fun.
Что такое спортбол?
Down together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the
О,
ball. Have
давай.
fun.
Ой, я ускоряюсь даже.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better
Да, да,
than
да.
my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here's another ball. Yes. Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I have a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
More balls. More balls. Это actually весело. Просто пулять мячи. Да, да, actually, да. Неплохая. На минут 5 пойдет. Да, блин.
Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are
Уже задал.
Yes, that's what I am. I am structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with... Hold on. What are you doing?
Whoa.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
А я не хотел падать. Да о! А, это что, какой-то хоррор? О, нет, это что, нон-массакр? Я опять играю в нон-массакр? У меня такое чувство, как будто это подстава, знаете. Он так сказал, что его больше не будет, а на самом деле он сделал мне какую-то хоррор-игру. О, лол, ха. Здесь свет. 427, это же моя комната, да? Причем, по-моему, это моя комната из Hell 2 мода еще. Он тут ходил? Да-да-да. Хм. А, это причем... Это же причем именно этот коридор, да? Да, это же прям стартовый. Вот тут игра начинается в Hell 2 моде. Точно. Точняк.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it.
Я упал!
What I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion.
Я
That's who
упал!
I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Ага. О, что?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply...
Выйти за текстуры? Вот, впади в окно. Да-да-да-да-да. Я знаю про эту концовку. Я потом ее врублю. Потом. Это одна из моих самых любимых, между прочим. С окном. Я прям ее обожаю.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Да, я знаю.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room.
Я не процент.
But eager to get back to business,
Да,
Stanley
поскорее.
took the first open door on his left.
Угу. Ладно.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Хорошо. Да, я был таковой.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Please skip the... А, это слайды переключаются. Все уникальные, а ты самый уникальный. Все эти офисные совещания так и выглядят, интересно? Как вы думаете? Блин, на стол не залезть. Ну ладно.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Нет?
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Из-за что ты так говоришь, мне кажется, тут все-таки что-то есть. Did you get the broom closet ending? Нет, я ищу. Короче, в оригинальной игре, по-моему, тут не было концовки вообще никакой. Может, они реально с ничем сделали? Да, я тут... Мне интересно, может, что-нибудь добавили. Так вот, может так? Это лампа еще.
At least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. It didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no
почему тогда есть тут?
Story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet? The broom closet ending was my favorite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Я так и скажу. Я так и скажу.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really, really stupid.
О, в смысле? Сам?
The job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and...
В смысле? Нихера себе! Да пошел ты в жопу, брат!
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. We got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and we're just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard.
Тут нет клавиатуры.
The responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby?
Я в наушниках.
This computer is dead.
Я в
They
наушниках.
have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area.
Интересно, кто-нибудь реально, играя в колонках, забайтил другого человека на то, чтобы он пришел на эти слова. Новый игрок? Вроде все. Ну да, походу.
Second player. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Ну ладно. Если так.
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. You can hand the controls to the fish, fungus. Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll get you when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Я прям его обидел, он такой расстроенный. Ладно, ладно, господи.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Хорошо. Кажется, я его совсем расстрою, если я хотя бы пару его поручений не выполню. Ух, нифига. Ты, эта дверь как-то не подходит. Деньги утром, деньги вечером, деньги на завтрак. Хрустящие деньги. Ладно. Блин, брутальное место так-то. А вот на моем телефоне, кстати, как будто автоответчик что-то оставил. Бизнес-стратеджи. А! А. Да? Что это за свет? Давай вверх. Та-та-там, та-там, та-там. Он, да понятно, это он, рассказчик. Оно бесконечно едет? Ага, понятно, ясно. Ой, нифига. I am the most expensive boss. Самый богатый босс?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known.
2845?
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Окей. О, блин, это та подсобка из этого. Из security брича. Не сюда, а там что? Я вообще ничего не вижу. Какой-то всемирный заговор я раскрываю как будто.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Я могу? А может еще ниже могу? А не, выше могу. В смысле, обратно?
Whoops. Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Что? Вниз не могу. Может, здесь что-то изменилось? А может, я стану боссом сам?
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office.
Да.
Exactly the way it
Да.
was before you got onto the elevator.
Да.
It's still just exactly what it is. What a
Да?
decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow. I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Блин. Ладно. Хм. Я могу ввести какой-то код. Я могу ввести какой-то код. Хм. Ха. Ха. Хм.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this?
Я сам удивляюсь.
Did you think we were going to go forward down the spooky corridor? No. It's time once again to go back up in the elevator. I can't even begin to grapple with what might be up there. Is it the boss's office again?
Да, мне кажется, да.
It's the boss's office this time. The suspense is killing me.
Там на стене были цифры? Да? 1964? Где? Ща. Ты про вот это? Да. Я тоже на это посмотрел, но... Можно, конечно, попробовать? Только, типа... Тихо. О, испугался.
It's the boss's office.
Да, это он.
This absolutely changes everything for me. Give me a time out here for a minute while I process this.
О. Стоп, подождите.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared to embrace this stunning revelation and to move forward with... No, wait.
Там материться за кадром.
I need more time.
Да. Это мой джем.
All right. I have fully come to terms with it. I need space in my worldview for this astonishing new reality. As before, I turn to your expert eye for gripping narrative, Master Stanley.
Это странно, что мне дают ввести код, потому что раньше я не мог этого сделать. Когда я впервые его ввел. Ой, это делал. Я просто сомневаюсь, что эта стена действительно... Если тут есть код, я сомневаюсь, что его дает стена вот эта.
Going back down in the elevator. How did I not anticipate it? I mean, sure, now it's obvious, but you have to understand that 30 seconds ago, this kind of thing had never been attempted before. I had no frame of reference to even anticipate it.
Да?
That's just how revelatory Stanley's decision-making is. A breath of fresh air in a landscape of storytelling that has grown stale and repetitive.
Моя любимая история. Все? Без комментариев?
You know what? I've just thought of something. Hold on, let's stop for a moment. Don't you realize? It's the anticipation, Stanley. You and I, we have no way of knowing what will be at the top of this elevator. But the suspense, the agony of waiting and anticipating and having to guess, that's the real thrill. Oh, I simply don't...
Я могу попытаться догадаться.
It's so precious, so fleeting. Why don't we take this elevator ride nice and slow. There we go. Isn't this so much more exciting?
Ты решил меня вытравить таким образом или что?
Nowadays, the only thing that audiences want is to be shocked as loudly and frequently as possible. They want big, explosive moments flung right in their faces from the very moment that things get started. But where's the tension? Where's the trust in the audience to build a slow and nuanced appreciation for the story, the characters? Why aren't we given time to imagine the surprises? To have to think and to anticipate and then to marvel at the eventual
Это важно,
reveal.
да?
This is storytelling, Stanley. What you and I are doing right now. This is the most exciting narrative to be developed in years. And it's really all because of you.
Да?
You're the one who took this bold step of revisiting the exact same locations over and over. Truly, I mean it. This is unique and different. It's not like anything else out there. You see, I want stories that surprise me, Stanley. I want to have to think. I want to be engaged and not pandered to. We're being fed such unimaginative drivel all the time, and we all know it, which is why we're so starved for content that makes us feel sharp and vital and alive. That's why people like you so much, Stanley. Because you're not afraid to spit in the face of tradition. You're a role model.
Да, да. Мне всегда говорят, где квота, квота? Я говорю, какая квота? Плюю в лицо квоте.
So that you can talk about your work and your storytelling and your life. Yes, I know you're not much for the public eye, but I thought it would especially mean a lot to the people who have been following you from the beginning. They really look up to you, Stanley. I don't know if you realize the impact you have on them. This is the kind of gesture that might leave a tremendous impact on them for the better.
Ого.
Oh, good, we're here.
Мы actually в другом месте?
Okay, the room where we're holding the press conference should be just around the corner here somewhere.
Отрикс ревилд. Какой-то кинотеатр.
Ah, yes, here it is, just through this door.
Stage door. Storyteller. Stanley reveals all in his new book.
All right, are you ready? I've told them you're going to speak a little bit about the nature of surprise in storytelling and what it means to craft a truly unpredictable narrative. Oh, don't worry, you'll do great.
Я волнуюсь,
And speak from the heart.
Я...
I'm really proud of you, Stanley. Okay, it looks like they're ready for
Подожди, я еще не готов. Да подожди. Ого! Ого! Всем привет, всем привет! Да, это я, Стэнли. О, господи! Collapsed on stage. Это было жутко. Вообще-то довольно стрёмно.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting.
Мобильный твич такой себе, да. Так, вот это оставляю на потом. Это вообще самое лучшее. Вот эти компы, по-моему, с ними что-то можно было сделать. То ли их там все отрубить в определенном порядке, что ли, что-то такое. Во, awaiting input, бам. Что-то такое. О! Дверь под названием «Новый контент».
content?
Да.
What does that mean? New content.
Мне бы знать. Это лифт? Ты как в Half-Life?
Hello, and thank
Oh.
you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Да, я в курсе.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Да. Да. Actually, да. Вот бы я еще приближать мог. Я вот это вот на самом деле люблю, вот эти всякие рассматривать штуки. Записки, в которых есть какой-то скрытый лор, это в миллиард раз интереснее, когда тебе основной сюжет преподносят через записки.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Ну, как-то не очень... Как-то не очень ты, конечно, постарался над оформлением для супер новой истории.
Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Окей.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Это ты мне давай контент. Jump Circle?
All right.
А не мне прыгать.
All right, let's see it's
Или...
the jump circle.
В нем можно прыгать? В нем можно прыгать? Я трачу прыжки, у меня не так много прыжков.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Игра стоит своих денег. А ты играл в оригинальную или нет? Вообще, оригинальная игра точно стоила своих денег. Если ты не играл в оригинальную и у тебя есть Ультра Делюкс, она точно стоит своих денег. А если ты уже играл в оригинальную, то не уверен. Пока я вот играю, ну вообще прикольно. Но я ее очень давно играл, поэтому для меня очень много в новинку. Новое, все старое для меня тоже в новинку, вот так вот. И не хочу все прыжки потратить. Зря они мне потом понадобятся. Блин. А я могу как-то пытаться... Да, я могу выпрыгнуть, kinda. Ладно, я не хочу их тратить. Что еще? Что еще есть? Может, еще и спринт будет? Может, еще и приближение? Да? Покажи еще.
Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more.
Так.
Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
Выглядит сомнительно.
That's it?
Huh?
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market.
Это Dark Souls Remastered. Нет, Dark Souls Remastered.
Don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable.
Давай.
It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks.
Без рюшек, без заманухи?
Having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Ну-ка. Это... Да, это... Ого! Это нифига не перезапуск. Это булшит какой-то? Что это? Ты еще скажи реплику про то, что у меня коллег нет на месте.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Нет. Ладно. Амогус?
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new ultra
Да.
deluxe content turned
Да,
out to be?
если честно, ну
They
прыжки
got
были
me
ничего
thinking
такие.
about the past and how much better the Stanley parable used to be. So I
Да, она
made
была
something
хороша.
special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
Воу.
Just our little secret. Take a look.
Вау.
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my
Это actually
favorite
красиво.
memories, so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
О, давай посмотрим.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, the original
Да-да-да.
Back then, video games had integrity. Back
О,
then,
integrity.
it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Collector's Edition, я не знал, что есть Collector's Edition. Audience Award? Stanley Parable. И ниже что там написано? А, Last of Us. В категории история. Блин. The Original Remake? The Original Remake? Point Steam. А я не вижу, это оно разве? А тут ничего даже нет про то, что оно раньше было модом для Half-Life. Второго. Тор. О, это ачивка, короче. Ачивка, за которую... в игру, короче, надо было играть 5 лет, да. Между твоим первым и вторым заходом в игру, ну, между заходом А и заходом Б, так скажем, должно было пройти 5 лет. По-моему, вроде как ее можно было получить, если ты просто меняешь дату на компьютере. А вот эту ачивку можно было получить только через файлы игры. Там что-то надо было, короче, поменять в файлах, и только так ее можно было получить, а в игре вообще невозможно было. Вроде как. в такой быстроты разрешение. Дебют гейм. Game Innovation. Story. Ой, это из одной концовки, кстати. Забавно. О, блин, кайфовое место. Обзоры?
Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim. It was Persona 3.
Persona 3? Нет! Ты читаешь мою жопу! Че за...
It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Как это возможно? Что за говно? Что за Persona 3? Психомантис. Да, я тоже об этом сразу подумал. Как будто игра, когда я ее запустил, быстро проанализировала абсолютно все мои видео, и самая часто упоминаемая мной игра была третья персона, она такая, ага, вот тебе третья персона. Вот это меню. По-моему, оригинально она так и выглядела, да. The Original Remake. Что значит Original Remake? Это вот этот в смысле или что? Какой-то скрин из движка игры. Тут есть другой путь. Ой, фигурки какие-то. Фигурка Стэнли и фигурка женщины, которая его нашла. Красивое, да? В смысле, место. Представьте, просто жить в таком, это же вообще кайф.
Here's another moving
source SDK.
this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Да ладно. Carpet Textures. О, типа две двери. А, открылась эта дверь? Но я не могу тут пройти. Тут нет прыжка, круга для прыжков.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again.
Ага.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Ты тоже не знаешь? В смысле? Тут какие-то плохие воспоминания или что?
Oh no. No. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, an online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years.
О
I
нет.
can't even imagine what's been collecting down here.
О
Surely
нет.
these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Да-да-да. 100 пудов. Not recommended. 3 часа поиграно.
I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Меня чуть не убило. Unfunny. Это смешно, что они такие типа в этих в контейнерах перевозных, потому что их дохера. Какой-то вообще мрачняк. А что не дают почитать? Я бы хотел их почитать, поржать. Вообще, на самом деле, смотреть ревьюхи в стиме — это отдельный вид ржаки. Иногда можете посмотреть, там много чего пишут. Смешного. О.
Okay, let's see what this one says.
3 часа опять.
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record.
Мне как дверь открылась справа.
Like I let these people down.
Ладно.
Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Как дверь справа открылась, у меня руки не на клавиатуре, я сразу дернулся быстро взять, потому что я же после Нанмассакра и ФНАФа я уже вообще на иголках сижу. Что там справа открылось? Что за звуки? Закрыть двери, вентиляции чекнуть.
What's this one got to say?
10 часов.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button.
Боже, это как с боссами.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Ладно. Это кнопка перемотки. Рисунок классный. Мне нравится, что Сумрак рисует их не просто круто, а еще и быстро. Это вообще-то очень важно. Уметь так делать.
It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people.
Да?
And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up.
Да, я, может, не хочу.
We'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable novel.
Да, давай.
Something like this. The story and the choices
And the choices.
and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, or until the end of time.
End of time.
Everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years.
until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what
The story
and
and the
therefore by
choices.
becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all
Inevitably.
till the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you read a description,
Блин, интересно,
but if
а
I
если я
could
не буду
say,
скипать, он
I'd
будет...
say
Я
it
видел,
was
что он уже начинает
less of a
повторять.
rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very
Давай.
briefly, and you can tell me what you think.
Давай.
So my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or were
Ну да.
or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your mortal and yet timeless thought, or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both
Ну
of
да.
these things at once. That
Да.
you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to
О, Господи.
manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation. And
ну-ка.
I do find myself in this
Так,
situation
ну-ка.
frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Treatise, manifesto. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption,
Что за звук?
right at your fingertips to go poof,
Опять он.
it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place.
По-моему, можно.
I guess I should become better educated on exactly how
По-моему,
Steam
можно.
works.
По крайней мере, раньше можно
That
было.
would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will
Да, Габен,
instantly
да.
run out and implement a new feature.
Нет, скорее всего, наоборот уберут.
Review, merely because of this very
Нет, 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 так не работает.
I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial. Something along the lines of, this game is the best game. Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary
Ага,
step forward in
вот
the
так вот.
lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is
Скромности не занимать.
that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted. offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you
О,
were.
господи.
Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 40
А, это звук кнопки.
It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can round. Stanley, please don't push the button again.
12!
12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, you're back.
Он там умирает.
Oh my goodness, I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I've
Неделя.
been a week or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Oh, hello, it's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever
Через
sat
год.
down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe
Дверь
it.
пропала, кстати.
To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust.
Я что-то боюсь. В один момент я нажму, и он просто не ответит мне. Вообще никогда.
For what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome.
Капец. Так-то, вообще-то... Так-то, вообще-то, kinda... Кнопка, кстати, не прожимабельная, по идее. Блин, он говорил, и все, больше не говорит. Это так странно. Пожара... Защита от пожара? В смысле, как это? Забыл, как называется штука. Цветок уже все завял. Часы упали. Час. Как бы мне в огне не оказаться.
The game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen.
Ну нет,
Immediate desire.
не обязательно.
Every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so?
Нет, можно просто сказать людей в жопу.
It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all
Wow.
of us, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment
Только фанаты П3 столько говна уже выгнались. Я слышу, что-то капает.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Это на самом деле It's never the end, это... Ну, на самом деле, эту фразу можно по всей игре встретить, то тут, то там. Даже в загрузке она. Ага, протекает крыша. Довольно-таки добротно уже начинает. Это трубы, да? Нет, вроде крыша. Черт его знает. Может, и трубы. Как бы меня здесь не затопило. Ну, типа. Стрёмно. О. Светало. А? Вау! Офигеть! Блин, крутяк. Ой, там даже деревья вижу. Наратор умер? Ну, или забил, я не знаю. Почему умер-то сразу? Но если учесть, что оно... Ягоды... Это клюква, что ли? Если учесть, что оно все дальше и дальше, то, возможно, действительно умер. Вентилятор больше не работает. Все пропало. Вот это крипово. Вот это отстой. Бэкрумс. The fuck? Ну его нахер. А, кнопка упала. А, у меня квартира упала. Это... Это из концовки DLC 3-го Dark Souls. Актер. Не дадут забраться, хотел осмотреться. Я так... Да. Это было kinda стрёмно. Вообще-то даже не kinda, а абсолютно стрёмно. Умер я в пустыне. Ну, вообще, рут крутой. Абсолютно новый. Подождите, это же рут, который я... Это же был рут, на котором я просто зашел в новый контент, да? Это же оно было? У дверей стоять? Что? А, в смысле, у двух дверей? А там что-то есть, да? New контент. Новый контент?
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Новый контент? Я, кстати, на этом пути хотел посмотреть назад, если мне дадут. Сейчас посмотрим. Да там вообще дофига. Если бы не где-то с 3-4 нажатия уже год прошел. А, я уже... Окей. Ха. Так.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
The fuck?
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Stanley парабл был так хорош, что мы сделали 40 частей.
Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean?
И меня тоже, кстати, смущало, да?
Now that's an artistic
Ультра Делюкс, что это
right
вообще?
there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Хорошо. Я инвестор, допустим. Посмотрим, что вы предлагаете. Они вернулись в 2 двери. ТСП лого IDS. The Stanley Parable 2 лого IDS. Это Last of Us. Второй вариант это Last of Us. Тут еще какие-то отсылки, может, если я не знаю. Боже мой. Прям как в школе. Это еще Comic Sans. МГС же? Да? Который? Или ты имеешь в виду второй МГС? Может быть. Ну я понял о чем. Это надо, короче, сравнивать, смотреть прям. Это стопудов отсылки. Вот это, кстати, Резидент, нет? Стэнли парабл с этими... Вот это Резидент. С штучками. Пятый слайд. Вот это выглядит знакомым, четвертый слайд. Не могу понять, что именно. Ага.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2
Ну,
is
давай
to be,
подумаем.
but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Вот тут заряд Майкер Ми. Какой-то Амогус. На самом деле игры действительно... Ну, вообще интересная тема в этом плане. Что-то на стыке технологий и искусство. Вот что я хотел сказать. Сиквелы хороши. Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, Divinity Original Sin 2, Doom 2, Aladdin 2, Dark Souls 2. 2. Не, ну Dark Souls 2 действительно хорош. Не то, чтобы у меня на канале была возможность его не стримить за 10 миллионов валюты. О, нифига. Новый new features. Автобус прям в новый контент. О, красиво. Похоже на одну локацию с второго Dark Souls, кстати. Давай. Это же аранжировка этой темы. Так. Кнопка, которая произносит имя игрока, который играет в игру. Да? Ладно. Да ладно.
Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button, which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
Звучит интересно,
Isn't
да?
that wonderful?
Да, на самом деле, действительно интересно. Я kinda...
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim.
Ага.
But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is.
Ясно,
Here,
понятно.
let's have you role play as Jim to really
Окей,
simulate
ладно.
the full experience of this.
Я Джим.
Play along. I promise you'll love it.
Хорошо?
Okay, here we go. Let's take
Так.
a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you
Я
to
Джим.
imagine yourself living as Jim.
Я всю жизнь прожил Джимом.
Falling in love and being
Jim.
heartbroken as Jim. Seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim.
Я работаю офисным
Watching your dreams crumble.
клерком, у меня херовая работа, мне ничего не нравится, я
Are
Джим.
you really, truly
Меня бросила
Jim right
девушка.
now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Я Джим.
Jim.
Yes, you see, what a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it
Чуть-чуть,
again,
чуть-чуть.
do it again.
Торкнула самую малость, самую малость.
Jim.
It hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation. Whoa there, cowboy. Sometimes a person can be too much Jim. I'm putting the Jim button away.
Эй,
Otherwise,
нет!
soon you'll start to lose all sense of who you actually are.
Jim.
Собака, вот неприятная, а. Дюралюминиевые ящики.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable too. That would actually save me the
Да?
work of finishing this
Да.
feature.
Новый офис. Не скриншотить. Хорошо, не буду. Рейтрейсинг будет? Хорошо, что я закупил 360, да? Кнопка с именем игрока, запустившая игру. Тут на русском? Прыжковый круг, бесконечная дыра. Прыжковый круг, уже видел его. Бесконечная дыра. Что там за журнал был? Внизу? Какой-то improvements, investments, что-то такое. Many improvements. Господи. Collectibles. Я хочу все посмотреть. Так, что такое? Как это правильно вообще произнести-то? Reassurance bucket? Reassurance. Во, reassurance bucket. Я не знаю, как слово переводится. Reassurance. Звучит знакомо.
Of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket.
Успокаивающе?
You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal.
Неправда можно будет его взять в руки?
And comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket.
Это гениально, на самом деле. О, можно? Да ладно. О, нифига, что?
Can you feel it?
Да!
The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
Да,
I
да.
think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive
Кайф.
as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on.
Я пойду отсюда?
All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Выпустите меня с ведром, выпустите. О, хорош! Все, буду с ведром.
Give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Успокаивающее ведро. Украшение для офиса и бесконечная дыра.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. And I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Поправляйся, мне как-то больше нравится. Get Well Someday. Happy Степнис. Это лучше.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along.
Да ладно!
Birthday step niece it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Come now, you've already made your choice. It's true that you chose badly, but we all have to move on from our mistakes.
Да фигня, другие лучше. О, Jump Circle.
You know what
out, Stanley, I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
У меня есть ведро, я могу прыгать. Это действительно неплохой сиквел. Это прям как в Elden Ring, да? Вот я раньше не мог прыгать, а теперь могу. А что такой грустный? У меня кончились прыжки. Jump Circle, this map, free achievement. Угу. Мерч. Setting World Champion. Reassurance Bucket. Office Decoration. Эпилог. О боже, такие офигенные эти, конечно. N5QB, за решетка B. Что? Выход. Я пока еще тут не все смотрел. Коллектаблы. Он крутится. Вау.
Collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell.
Это не новинка. Во многих играх ты собираешь коллекцию было ради нихера. Вау. Пипец. Застрял. Господи.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Фиачивка. Так, потяните за рычаг, получить ачивку, больше ничего не надо. Просто работает.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident?
Yeah.
Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that. Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Не знаю, не уверен, что здесь можно получить ачивку, если честно. Я почти уверен, что тут такая же тема с тем, что мне надо в файлах это делать. Окей. Боже, я обожаю это ведро. С ведром стало куда лучше. Здесь абсолютно согласен. Оно еще такое скачет, типа. Ведро. Ой, в смысле не ведро, а Infinite Hall, во. Во. It won't end? Пум-пум-пум. Время глубина.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game.
It's never been done before?
A hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Потолок? Звуки там kinda не очень приятные. Мне kinda интересно посмотреть, что будет, если я выйду из выставки. Мне кажется, здесь концовка. Выглядит отстойно. У меня ведро есть. А это куда? Чемпион мира по настройкам? Не пускают. That's new. Эпилог? Что? Так, а где... Я помню, где-то был... выход. Там прям... Вот тут, по-моему, да? О, выход. Да, вон. Пойдем. Неплохая выставка. Стильно. Модно. Красиво, пафосно. Да, ну кроме дыры. Да. Я с ведром. С моим любимым ведром. Лучшим ведром. Что это за...
Do you like all of the new features?
Да.
I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it appears into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Я вижу collectible, я вижу кнопку, ачивку, друг.
Sort of. Okay, never mind.
Шарики везде.
Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement.
И прыжки.
Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley?
Стало хуже.
This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything.
Там зеркало в дыре.
I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure in the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen.
Ультра Делюкс?
Screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, this is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead.
Это что? Это что? Или Parable 2? Контрол? Это типа очень похоже, да? Это отсылка тоже на что-то или как? Я просто не играл в контрол. Получается, категория менять опять. Так. Сейчас нажму начать игру, где бы я ни оказался, что бы там ни произошло. Единственное, во что я верю и надеюсь, это... О, помните, кстати, у Неда Фандерса построили домик Венора? Короче, главное, чтобы ведро у меня было.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month.
Отличная работа, повторюсь.
And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been
Это значит... Ну-ка.
And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one...
Если там есть шарики, это значит кое-что иное. Куда более важное.
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Я не могу прыгать. Я могу прыгать только в джамп-серклах. Fuck.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you... Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ага, второй инпут есть. Забавно, но аж даже между этими сохраняется, между рутами. Так, ведро у меня.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Это Стэнли парабл 2.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Все те же концовки, но с ведром? Что? Может, я тут ставлю ведро?
Can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the
Да-да-да,
bucket.
да-да-да.
You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
Нет, там.
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Don't give in.
Нет, дам.
Hand over the bucket.
Нет.
I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over.
Нет. Нельзя.
Getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults?
Это ты меня оскорблял, между прочим.
Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over.
Ведро, actually, мой единственный друг в этой игре. Паков.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Блин!
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these. Only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Отлично. По-моему, я могу ошибаться. Это концовка с девушкой этой.
Admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fined for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal,
В смысле? Нет.
Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good will come from this. Who knows what sort of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed the
Нет.
repeating, which was, of course, very odd.
Это точно было мое ведро.
Himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious.
Whoa.
Bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one
Я вижу,
bucket
да.
after the next. None of them were his.
Ща
None
почти.
of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out. This is the story
Да,
of a woman
да,
named Mariella.
да, Мариэлла.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She
Что там Стэнли с ведром будет лежать? Я почти уверен.
comfort and security and walked to her place of work.
А, она с ведром, что?
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course, he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work.
for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Я думал, она сделала бэкфлип и пошла на работу. Если бы не было субтитров, я бы так и подумал. Дайте мне ведро.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone?
У дверей, да, точно. Угу.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Я, честно, не помню. По крайней мере, в оригинальной игре, что там. А, хромак пока почему не точно было. Оп. Если бы я пропал, могло показаться, что игра зависла, потому что нет ни одного движущегося элемента в статике. Может, лице откисает, нарратор грустит? Что-то такое было, да, я припоминаю. Меня бесит эти шарики. Почему не те шарики, которые я выбрал? Какой племяша? В смысле? Как черту племяша?
Stanley just stood there doing nothing at all. He seems to think I have nothing better to do with my time than to sit around and describe every fascinating little detail of his inability to do anything. This is why Stanley
Я так и понял, да.
such good terms.
Still nothing. А, мне ж болят щеки. Ах. Этот трек. Я слышу едва заметный звук лампы. Я помню, каким-то образом можно было вот там оказаться, наверху. В каком-то из рутов ты, короче, вот на крыше показываешься, и сквозь нее видно. И не помню на каком. Это комната самая бэкрумная? А, ну да, что-то есть такое. Ну да. Не знаю, что-то реально бэкрумс у меня почему-то не в этот аналогии не проходит вообще никак. Стэнли был до бэкрумов, да. Или, по крайней мере, до их обнаружения. Мои плечи. Я читал про эту фотку, кстати. Ну, довольно давно еще. Когда, мне кажется, когда только она начала теперь фортиться чуть-чуть, я читал, и там про какие-то гей-оргии было написано, и все такое. Что Что-то, походу, тут ничего нет больше. Стенли про родителей Бэкрумов. Есть? Окей. Очень... Такая, типа, знаешь, серьезная проверка на выдержку. Блин, жалко нельзя приблизить. Я же вижу, что оно в хорошем качестве. Там реально можно почитать, если приблизить. Неужели вот сколько этот наратор не прочитал отзывов для того, чтобы сделать Stanley Parable 2? Неужели в одном из них не было написано «добавьте функцию приближения»? У меня почему-то такое чувство, как будто она была в первой части. Только, видимо, ее не было. Слишком пятишно будет? Теперь все мои трои будут такие, по сути, да? Типа с возможностью взять ведро. Забавно, а если я ведро не возьму, по сути, то же самое, только без ведра. Приложение к запискам в земле строится с 5. Я, кстати, не играл в 5. Кстати, в 5 не играл. Да и вряд ли есть та самая 5, да, наверное, уже. Ее же там 15 раз блокировали. Все такое. Я знаю, что какие-то типа редкие экземпляры в 4-й плойке, которые с тех пор, еще как только вышел 5, не были ни разу подключены к интернету, чтобы не обновиться, не засинхронизироваться с PlayStation Store, и чтобы 5 не удалили. Они типа продаются за большие деньги. Типа вот та самая плойка, на которой остался 5, вот так вот. Я бы поиграл, если бы был 5, как таковой, настоящий, на ПК. Может он есть, может его нет, я не знаю. Порт есть? Я знаю, что очень много сделали люди игр типа 5. Ну, свои пятишки такие. Fun games, yes. Точно с ведром? Может, без ведра? Потому что если это та самая концовка, которая была раньше, то да, наверное, все-таки без ведра, мне кажется. Потому что я тут довольно долго уже сижу. Минут 10, наверное, 15. Черт его знает. Только... У меня есть идея, куда пойти.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Мне ведро везет.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Вот я хочу туда, да.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk.
Там можно...
Does not think about this obvious fact.
Что? Там можно пройти?
Convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket
А?
asked.
Там можно пройти. Я вижу, там коллектабл. Только как? Угу. Может, найти коробки как-то можно?
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Разве туда нельзя зайти? Obeyed blindly. Ё-моё, офигеть. Господи.
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up the phone. Whoa! Hold on. Why did you unplug the phone?
А я не знаю.
Trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was
Да что-то...
Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it, but there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is.
По-моему, я его помню.
Let's take a look.
Только... Подождите, а разве тут было видео...
What is comedic timing?
Нет, оно было про другое, тут было про выборы.
Timing. How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper.
Уна?
If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor.
А, еще нет?
Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now.
О мой бог. I'm Danny with the funny.
An example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may earth reign supreme. Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
О нет, сейчас будет I'm Danny with the funny. О нет. Нет. Мы прям туда вернемся? Ну ладно, давай. Давай посмотрим.
This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll get stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure.
The bucket spoke to Stanley.
The bucket spoke.
The bucket spoke.
Oh, I'll figure
The
it out. on
bucket
the
spoke
fly.
to
No need to
Stanley.
think things.
The bucket spoke with Stanley.
Не откроется? Давай, удиви меня в этот раз. Из реально меняет всю игру, это вообще жуть.
Here we go. You ready?
Давай, вот, я
When
захожу.
Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake.
Нет.
I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think I need to go back and rewatch that instructional video again. Yes, surely.
Я подожду, ничего страшного. Попробуем еще раз.
Here we go. You ready?
Хорошо, да,
When
давай.
Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What? Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already?
Он, что даже?
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Ой, нормально.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Ладно.
Here we go. You ready?
Окей,
When
ладно.
Stanley and the bucket
Окей.
came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Последний раз строю.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Окей.
Here we go. You ready? When
Okay.
Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Ладно.
No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading
no.
back to the phone.
Нет,
Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this was
Нет,
all
я-
covered very
я там
clearly.
был.
There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The
Да
joke
в
is
смысле?
completely done and over. It's all your fault,
Моя?
Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All
Я там
because
был
you
500
couldn't
раз.
watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
О,
You love the bucket so much it's like you. It's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale
Ведра
in
выеденного.
comparison. Yes. Let me try that, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame.
о нет. Это концовка с ужасными юморесками.
Is it the same? Pale with shame. Pale with shame. Pale. What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More instructional videos. Let's see. Let's see.
О, мой бог.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally.
А?
This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Мы в классе в 7 забулили кавказца здорового, который вообще из параллельного класса. Просто потому, что у него смешное имя. И он спустя неделю в другую школу перевелся. Чел, ужасно. Тебе хотя бы стыдно? Хотя бы. Мы. Это было не я. Мы. Это было не я.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Я хочу понять, как забраться туда. А я знаю или не знаю? Или знаю? Я знаю, по-моему. Или не знаю.
Direct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to
Oh,
the cargo
whoa.
lift.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I
Стануэтка.
like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Может, я могу отсюда куда-то спрыгнуть? Я, блин, точно могу пройти куда-то? Вот сюда. О! $999. Что-то бир, вижу медведь. Lives. New что-то because someone. Не могу понять. Выкрунулся, да. Кассеты? Наратор диалог. Наратор диалог. Наратор диалог. Наратор диалог. Наратор диалог.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real.
Голос такой другой, да?
The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
Это пластинка из Майнкрафта, гайз. Что такое гамбарата? Шиперские посты.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Лаповая или лайтовая? Одноклассница про двух одноклассников фанфики писала. Ведро зло, это да. Но...
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
А? 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 Что? Что? Что?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket.
Я говорю, я потом эту концовку почекаю.
Lounge was simply the place to be.
Ставлю на потом.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was no, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Какая-то странная штука была.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good,
Said the bucket.
now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
С лифта?
Stanley did not
Я сейчас
question
хочу
why
кое-что
or
другое
how
чекнуть.
this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
Ну,
The problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket. I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point.
ну тут есть картинка.
That's
Так что я бы мог понять.
Goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what
Я думаю, я понимаю, что такое ведро.
isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Это викторина?
Then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me
Давай.
whether or not the thing I'm showing you is simple,
Хорошо.
right? This
Да,
should tell us
довольно
everything
просто.
we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
Так.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Да.
Incorrect.
Нет?
It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Что?
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Это музыка из этого. Как будто. Кто хочет стать миллионером? Да?
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Так это... Так это все равно ведро, в смысле? Даже 3D-модель ведра.
Is this a bucket?
Я могу подойти посмотреть? Да?
Correct. This is a bucket.
Изи?
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Нет. О, боже мой, только не говори мне, что там. Я не знаю. Он не сделан из ведра или что-то типа того. Нет, это не ведро.
Correct. This
Да,
is a treadmill
да.
and not a bucket.
Да.
To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned.
В смысле? Я угадал предыдущий.
For not making me look like an idiot.
Я угадал. Fuck off.
Is this a bucket?
Нет?
Incorrect.
Нет?
This is a bucket.
В смысле? Может, мне хотя бы объяснят? Нет.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Да?
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Что я должен был ответить?
Item. Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Что? Я не знаю. Я же не вижу. Нет?
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing
Да.
here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. When I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is
Нет.
not true. Unless, is that what you think?
Нет.
Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Ну... Нет, у меня не было такого замысла изначально. Подожди, да или нет? Я могу ошибиться в этом?
I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments
В руках
ago I could
ведро.
answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is?
Я знаю.
Am I a bucket?
I'm Danny with the funny.
I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart.
Нет, нет, нет,
I
нет, нет.
can't have that. I'm sorry.
Нет.
But I
Нет.
need to erase all buckets.
Нет! В смысле?
Okay, here we go.
Нет. Побегу.
What happened? Is everything gone?
О,
Why did everything disappear? Wait,
Потому что...
Was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you,
А
Stanley,
я?
you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets,
А,
okay?
да.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Говорю, потом открою. Я под конец хочу. А... Подожди. Посмотрим и так, и так.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone. Not with the bucket. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Я хотел упасть, да?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No.
Есть спидран, интересно, спидран категория на все концовки. На 100% есть. Концовка с ракетой? Не помню.
The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
О.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley did... Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you... The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together. Stanley pressed the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the lounge was simply the place to be.
Правая дверь самая популярная.
Turned out to be correct. Was no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Мне кажется, концовка... Ты не путаешь? С ракетой, по-моему, это было интро Данганронпы, а не концовка Stanley Parable. I'm done with the funny.
I'm glad you found your way. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
О, нифига, что?
You see, your friend.
Я помню эту линию.
We've come
Это была лучшая концовка.
because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Adventure Line, guys, это вообще хит-парад. Серьезно, ни одного комментария? Это действительно продолжение той линии?
Look at that wacky line. Who
Да-да.
knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music.
Да-да, да-да. О, да, это оно прям. Та-та-та-та-та-та. Блин, вообще кайф.
Now this is what the
Нет.
Stanley parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans. Let's give them more content exactly like that. To do that, you're going to have to give something up.
Охренеть, значит, это вообще не угадал. Блин, вот это бэкрум, кстати, вообще жопа.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket.
В смысле?
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character.
Не понял.
This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Нет. Нет.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket. And then
Нет.
pop it into the machine when you're ready.
Что? Бред? Нет.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I
Yes.
don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is
Нет.
getting very upset now. You'll have to
Нет.
hurry and feed it. We can't
Нет.
get back to the classic Stanley parable characters like the Adventure Line or the
Но Adventure Line мне тоже нравится.
Crush that damn bucket. Quickly now. The fans are waiting. Do it.
Я не знаю, кто.
Give the
Ладно.
fans what they want. Hurry and
Я толкнул.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
Я хочу посмотреть, что будет, если ведро скормить.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was. Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled.
Anywhere
Stanley just smiled.
be perfectly. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back.
Благо, здесь недалеко.
Detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Блин, Adventure Line это вообще хитера.
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line?
Хочу, на самом деле.
Go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what. Whee! Look at that wet line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well. Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
А, он его не отдает?
Now listen to me. It's crucial.
Он его сам не отдает?
I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows.
Переживает, типа не дам.
Что? How does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Секунду, меньше выбрать, чем оригинал. Да. История без разветвления.
My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things.
Ладно, пойдем прыгнем в окно.
Spellbinding stories about you, all of its...
В игре, разумеется, Stanley Parable.
Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
И я специально уточнил.
How long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Это моя любимая концовка, по крайней мере, без ведра была точно.
Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear.
We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self.
The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps, if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow.
No,
Said the bucket.
not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of... No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed,
Музон из истории.
the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like... My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it. How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted. At first, Stanley assumed he was until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Нет?
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in
Нет,
the first place.
на самом деле.
Oh, now think about it. Would it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Не, по-моему, это оно. Нажимать надо было не да, а нет. Ведь оно? Да? Вот оно. Блин. Видимо, это было все-таки да. Надо было нажимать на да. Блин. Сиквел на паузе. Сиквел на паузе.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. At first, Stanley assumed
Да, не без афани.
until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be?
Да?
Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet? Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain.
О, да-да-да.
There once was a man named Stanley,
Who people considered so manly.
but the
Truth must be told, he was not very old. Я помню этот трек наизусть.
particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
Yes.
You too will become
Парабл это притча, да? Там-там-там-там-там. Там-пам-пам-пам. Фамилия? Yes. Боже мой.